I had the case of Kerri B from 1992. This case was Terry and Vicki B versus the Sioux City Community School District and Western Hills Area Education Agency, and the judge was our own Susan Eschite. Hopefully I do this case justice, as you probably know it inside and out, so no pressure for me. The background of this case, the case actually started when Kerri was entering high school. However, the background dates all the way back to her first grade year when she was enrolled in private school. In first grade, her teacher noticed some reversals in reading and math. So an evaluation was completed and Kerri did qualify for special education with a learning disability. Mechanics of reading and visual memory were areas of concern, so a multi-sensory approach was recommended. Fast forward to third grade, and goals were added for reading, math, and written language, and then at that point, Kerri also transferred to a public school. During her fourth grade year, the 3-year evaluation indicated those same 3 areas of need, but also added that off-task behavior and learning problems were causing Kerri to have difficulty being successful in the regular classroom. So they were seeing a lack of motivation and decreased responsibility for those classroom tasks. So they added some mainstream strategies, which included orally taking tests and then an assignment sheet being used to chart daily needs. Kerri was also retained during her fourth grade year. Or retained during fourth grade. During sixth grade, she was mainstream for 3 classes and in a special education setting for 3 classes. And mom again said that Kerri was having trouble in her mainstream classes. Mom also stated that the teacher made the comment that she could not orally test all students who needed it, leading mom to believe that the accommodations were not being provided. So there was an addendum to the IEP stating that Kerri can take tests orally 15 minutes before the school day started. In 7th grade, a review showed the same 3 goal areas again. Kerri was showing improvement in attitude and responsibility of schoolwork at that time. And then in 8th grade, there was an uptick in her absences and tardies. At this point, she began vomiting before school. And during the 3-year evaluations, psych services reported a full-blown anxiety disorder. So the IEP developed stated that she was integrated into all but 4 areas, but that contradicted the model of self-contained with integration that was being used. Kerri was actually attending 4 special education classes and only 1 core class. By the end of her 8th grade year, mom had notified the school and then took Kerri to Northwestern Memorial Hospital Learning Evaluation Center in Chicago for an evaluation. That report said that Kerri was visually dyslexic. The Northwestern Memorial Hospital Learning Evaluation Center prepared the report saying that the strategy and techniques really didn't matter as much as the intensity of instruction. So mom contacted the AEA Assistant Director of Special Ed, and he said they'd look at that report in the fall once everyone returned from break. Kerri also transferred to a new high school over this summer period. So mom got Kerri a private tutor and also met with a parent advocate at this time. This is where she learned of her parental rights. School had not informed her of those parental rights up to this point. So a meeting occurred with the school personnel to review that evaluation report. And at that point, the special education teachers said that they were experts in dyslexia and needed no additional training to be able to provide her accommodations and provide her instruction. After the programming was reviewed, mom ended that meeting and asked for time to consider what the school was offering for their programming. So mom agreed before leaving that they would meet in December to draw up the new IEP. The special education consultant told mom that the program would meet Kerri's needs and that mainstream was possible with modifications. So no placement was discussed since the team was new to Kerri and they hadn't worked with her yet. Fast forward to December, and then mom ended up postponing that December meeting as she was awaiting mediation, and she cited the stay put provision, which states that during due process, the student services stay as is. So with all of that background in mind, the legal case was an affidavit of appeal filed by Terry and Vicki B in December of 1991. So the school district and the AEA refused to provide their daughter with a qualified specialist in dyslexia to serve as a consultant for Kerri, an increased integration with individual classroom and curriculum adaptation for her disability. They refused to provide adequate training of her classroom teachers to understand and work more effectively with Kerri on her disability, and refused to provide an independent evaluation with a dyslexia expert who can work with her evaluation team to formulate an effective IEP. So these were the things that parents were stating that the school had refused to do. So on the parent side of things, there was no discussion of the least restrictive environment or adaptations or modifications for those mainstream classes. The learning disability specialist from Topeka said that a lack of success in accommodations contributed to Kerri's negative attitude, off-task behavior, and lack of motivation that were being seen, stating that if teachers were not trained in dyslexia, they may misinterpret her disability as laziness. The parents were not informed of rights regarding placement, right to independent educational evaluation, or right to file a grievance. Changes were made to the IEP without parent knowledge, and there was lack of training in dyslexia. Kerri's disability was not properly identified. The IEP was not individualized for her disability, so she was being denied a free and appropriate education. Some of the problems with Kerri's IEP included reading needs were identified, but no measurable goals were included. Short-term goals for some areas were not observable and measurable. Present levels of performance were not included for the English goals and objectives, and no goals or objectives were included to offset the problems that were interfering with her education in the regular classroom setting. On the other side, the district and AEA claims were that the change was made to services because they noticed the emotional decline that was observed in Kerri when she was in the regular classroom. So that's why they increased her special education minutes. That teachers had the necessary knowledge and training to be able to implement the individualized instruction that Kerri required. So no additional training should have been required. And that an agreement was made with mom, and it was clear that the current IEP would stay in place until a new one was written in December. And then at that point, mom postponed the meeting. So the laws that are implicated in this case is the free and appropriate public education. This is satisfied when a student is given personalized instruction with sufficient support services to enable the child to benefit educationally from that instruction. The primary responsibility for formulating the education plan and choosing the method is typically left to state and local agencies in cooperation with the parents and guardians. No single procedure is used as the sole criterion for determining an appropriate educational program. There's usually several measures used. And then an annual review includes student progress, growth and improvement, current educational needs, the need for special education programs and services, and the appropriateness of the categorical designation. Also, the least restrictive environment. To the fullest extent possible, handicapped children are educated with children who are not handicapped, and removal of a child from the regular classroom should occur only when the educational progress with supplementary aids cannot be achieved satisfactorily. So basically when all other resources have been exhausted with lack of success seen, can we remove a child from the regular classroom setting? So the decisions and my personal reactions to each. The decision of parents to seek outside evaluation was affirmed. District and AEA were ordered to reimburse the parents for the cost of that outside evaluation. I do agree with that. There was a case cited, the Hendrick Hudson District Board of Education versus Rowley from 1982. This case found that it does not require best or maximum program, but a program that is appropriate to the student's educational needs. It also stated that parents do not have the right to compel a school district to use a specific program or methodology. The second decision, parent requests for increased integration for Kerri, was also affirmed. The school must schedule Kerri's annual review immediately and develop an IEP subsequent to the review, which must include all required components. I do agree with both the decision and the action requested of the school. The district failed to prove that Kerri required a special education with integration placement and could not receive educational benefits in a less restrictive environment with the use of supplemental aids. That discussion was not had, and supplemental aids were not tried in the regular classroom setting before that change was made. The parent request for the district or AEA to provide a specialist in dyslexia to serve as a consultant for Kerri was denied. And the parent request for additional training of her classroom teachers was also denied. I also agree with this. The reason I agree is that the teachers have the training and expertise needed, and they were able to provide Kerri an appropriate program in accordance with the specifications required of the IEP for revision. So what the judge was asking them to do to revise the IEP, they were able to provide what was going to be included in there. So then those two requests were denied. The implications from this case were really just to ensure that a parent is advised of parental rights. That also means that school staff must be familiar with those parental rights as well, to ensure all required components of the IEP are included in the IEP and meeting. Do not make changes to the amount of services or placement without holding an IEP. Communicate with parents about concerns, progress, changes, and anything else that requires a conversation. And then I also think positive ongoing communication with parents can avoid some of these problems as well. As I was reading through the case, mom definitely communicated that she felt a sense of defensiveness from the side of the school. So it really just kind of speaks to fostering those positive relationships and that open communication between the school and home. The two questions that I came up with for the class were: what role did administration play in the violations of the parental rights? And what should administration have done differently to avoid this outcome? And then, what is your experience with the communication of parental rights during IEP reviews? And that is the case of Kerri B. Thank you.